Imagine saving a patient's life, making them your servants, experimental guinea pig, and then licking their insides. Welcome to the dark side of medical history, where neither ethics, moral standards, nor hygiene will stand in the way of science. The moment a fist-sized hole was blown into our protagonist was during a grisly accident on June 6, 1822, Mackinac Island. 20-year-old French-Canadian Alexis St. Martin was stood in line at the American Fur Company store when a musket accidentally discharged next to him, and the blast hitting him right in the chest, breaking his ribs, lacerating his lung and diaphragm, and leaving a gaping hole in his upper abdomen. If you've got a chunk missing from your chest, as a surgeon, I can tell you that would be pretty bad even in the 21st century, let alone pre-Civil War America. So when he didn't immediately die, customers in the store summoned a doctor, Army Surgeon William Beaumont. He arrived and made a startling discovery. The musket blast had penetrated the abdominal wall and torn a hole into St. Martin's stomach. The food that the young man consumed for breakfast was dripping through the hole onto the floor. Yum. The prognosis for the patient in this critical state was extremely poor, and the wound that size would typically be a death sentence, and as we'll soon find out, he probably wished it was. This was a time when medical care was in its infancy. The standard treatment at the time consisted of bleeding a patient or administering emetics or laxatives. The next few weeks remained grim. St. Martin developed a raging fever and a virulent wound infection. Food and drink that Beaumont attempted to give him orally immediately leaked out the wound in his stomach. Beaumont got creative and sustained him with nutritious injections administered rectally. Eventually, St. Martin recovered from the infection, but the hole in his stomach remained. By tightly bandaging the wound, Beaumont could finally force the food to remain in the stomach. Weeks later, a curious event occurred. Instead of the edges of the stomach sealing together, they adhered to the skin on St. Martin's abdomen, forming a fistula, a gastrocutaneous fistula, an abnormal connection between two areas, and in this case, between the stomach and the skin. Alive but permanently mutilated, St. Martin was unable to return to his job with the American Fur Company, and not being a resident of Mackinac Island gave many the opinion that he should be sent back to Quebec to find some sort of aid. However, Dr. Beaumont believed that St. Martin would never survive the journey, and instead he offered him employment working for him as a labourer. The opportunity was a lucky one for St. Martin, but the motive of Dr. Beaumont was not entirely founded in charity. He was very much aware that the man he saved was not only a miracle of survival, but also a modern day marvel that offered an unprecedented chance to observe the functions of the human body firsthand, a literal window to the stomach. If St. Martin could read the contract he signed with Dr. Beaumont, he would see that he was basically agreeing to work, but also submitting to being a living medical experiment for the man who saved his life. With St. Martin under contract, Dr. Beaumont had access to functions of the human digestive system unlike anyone had ever had before. The process of digestion was poorly understood at the time. Scientists argued between two main theories. Was digestion a mechanical process or a chemical one? And fringe groups even thought digestion was caused by fermentation occurring when food was mixed with saliva and cooked in the heat of the stomach. Those believing in this putrefaction theory said that food simply rotted and decayed naturally in the stomach. Now, one of Beaumont's regular experiments involved tying pieces of food to a silk string and lowering them into the hole of the stomach and pulling the bits out in intervals to track the process of digestion in real time. He meticulously tracked anything and everything that entered St. Martin's stomach and recorded everything that happened to both different substances and to his patient. Samples of the stomach acid were even taken and sent to chemists to be analysed. Every finding was stunning to the field of physiology, where doctors had believed the physical walls of the stomach ground food up before it was proven by Beaumont that it was in fact a combination. The stomach acid also helped to break down what was ingested. The presence and function of this acid in the stomach may have been a particular interest of Beaumont. Allegedly, during one of his experiments, he actually licked the interior of St. Martin's stomach, discovering that actually it was only present when the stomach was actively digesting food. He also made observations that it was St. Martin's own stomach acid that was sanitizing the hole and keeping him from a massive raging infection. All told, Beaumont performed some 200 experiments on St. Martin over 10 years. As for St. Martin, he grew tired of both the gruesome experiments and performing manual labor for Beaumont and ran off to Canada. He married and raised a family, and though Beaumont constantly asked him to rejoin their partnership. When he died in 1880, St. Martin's family allowed his body to decompose, and in a further effort to thwart grave robbers interested in preserving his body for science, they buried him 8 feet deep. Amazingly, St. Martin lived to the ripe old age of 78. siring 6 children and otherwise living a pretty normal life, if mostly impoverished. He even outlived his doctor and master, who died after slipping on ice and suffered a head injury, by 27 years. And so ends this grisly tale of the fascinating fistula, but fear not, the annals of medical history are lined and lubricated with more dark, debaucherous stories, and I'll bring them to you. In the meantime, happy digesting.